On today's episode, ESPN ranked the Wizards number 5 in a list of 14 teams trying to take an upward trajectory. And just you wait until you see who came in dead last. Find out on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, this is Locked On Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, alongside DC Sports content creating savant and credentialed media member for the Washington Wizards. That's Abdullah Yubi. Check him out on Instagram, the host of the DMV Sports Zone page. I am Ben Strober, and I cover all things DC sports for 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. A lot to get to in today's Friday edition of Locked On Wizards. And it's list season, as we mentioned it yesterday, and ESPN puts out a list of NBA rebuild rankings. The Washington Wizards come in at number 5 on the list. And the metrics they use to cite this: players under 25 years old, 12 of them for Washington, 6 tradable first-round picks, and 10 players on rookie contracts currently for our Washington Wizards. We'll get into who exactly is on this list, who's ahead of the Wizards before they clock in at number 5. But there's a certain team that's in dead last, and that has some implications for us as Wizard fans, and we will touch on that eventually. AB, Wizards check in at number 5. What do you got for me, my friend?
Well, first things first, we're above the Charlotte Hornets, so let's just add that on to the X line beef between the Wizards and Charlotte Hornets. But no, in all seriousness, I love it. This is amazing. I think the Wizards, this is something that we've been talking about. We have a really, really bright future, and it all comes down to these next 2 to 3 years of this development of these young guys. And the article talks about having that top 8 protected pick, which they said that it's probably going to still be with the Wizards, and rightfully so. We have the idea that potential to have so much cap space in the 2026 offseason. Granted, you might not have the capability of landing a superstar because we're not winning as much, but maybe teams will or players will see that, hey, this is a place where I could potentially come down 2 or 3 years down my career. And I think if you're the Wizards, when's the last time we've had ESPN just say something positive like this? This goes to show it's a new regime. I know we talk about it a lot, but seeing other mainstream outlets, medias talk about, hey, the Wizards are actually building something here, that's positive. That's optimistic. And he mentioned all the young guys that we have, Bub, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr. We got to find those cornerstone pieces, and there's so many options that we have. And again, I compare it to throwing darts to the wall. Eventually, one of them are going to hit, and that's the guy that's going to be your superstar, and then you're going to have role players around him. And I like the blueprint. This is what Will Dawkins' plan. This is what he built from OKC, bringing here to DC, and it's going to be exciting. And ESPN has us at 5. I love it.
So one thing that checks in the final paragraph of this article, and you can go check it out at ESPN.com, NBA Rebuild Rankings. Just search it up and you'll find it. For each team, they have a section of estimated return to relevance. And for the Wizards, it just says, not anytime soon. Now, when I look at that, I feel like they're asleep a little bit on what could come a year from now, because the article does have its facts straight with the top 8 protected pick, that the Wizards do not have any interest in missing out on that pick, hoping to land a cornerstone piece, another potential franchise player in a stacked 2026 class that unfortunately did lose Elijah Arenas likely yesterday. He's probably going to be out the entire college season, so have to imagine that puts his NBA hopes on hold for the time being, but I guess that'll be something we can check out later on. But here's the deal. The Wizards, this is the final year where they really have, I'm not going to say an excuse, but an expectation to be at the bottom, to not perform to what expectation should be for an NBA franchise. And that's kind of the blueprint we've talked about, the 3 years of rebuilding. And I'll say this right now, they need to make strides this year while they are losing games. They need to develop. Last year, they lost 64 games, and half of those losses, 32 of them, came during 2 separate 16-game losing streaks. That cannot happen in this year. I'm going to be very concerned if we see that happen at some point this year. They cannot afford to go on those mega losing streaks like that again. It's terrible for team morale. It's bad because everyone gets out of system. People lose belief in what the organization is trying to do, the vision that has been instilled by Will Dawkins, Michael Winger, and the head coach, Brian Keefe. Something like that can't happen. But after this year, there should be the expectation that the Wizards make a big leap, the way the Houston Rockets did the year before last year in the 2023 season, where they won 41 games and you get into the play-in tournament. That should be the expectation for the Wizards in 2026. If you finish at the bottom again, you'd start to be a little bit concerned about where this Wizards organization is heading. And given how the East is, I'm not sure what it's going to look like next year, obviously, but anything can happen. The expectation should be that the Wizards find themselves getting closer to 500, which I say is somewhat relevant. That'd be more back in the middle ground where they were for so many years before they decided to get this whole rebuild, the tear down underway that transpired when they finally got off the Bradley Beal contract, one of the first moves they made here in D.C. when Will Dawkins took over this regime for Washington. I think the expectation for next year should be go time. Be time to put the foot on the gas pedal for the Wizards because you can't really justify just being at the bottom of the barrel for so long. And I think that's why a lot of this beef between Wizards and Hornets fans has arose because I feel like the Hornets have been rebuilding for forever. Like, but they've got like young pieces there now in LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller. They get Con Knipple in this most recent draft class, who then wins the Summer League MVP. So the pieces are starting to fall in place, but the Wizards need lottery luck next year. That is going to be the biggest thing, and this article talks about that as well, because the Wizards have not had the fortune of winning the lottery. I mean, of course, you get the number 2 pick in last year's draft to get Alex Sarr, but that's supposed to be the weakest draft class in a long time. And it still remains to be seen what kind of player Alex Sarr can be. I think he's going to be a high-end starter in the league, but is he going to be a franchise cornerstone, a guy that is a superstar player? That remains to be seen. The Wizards need to find who their superstar player will be for them to get back to relevancy. Trey Johnson very well could be that kind of player. Cam Whitmore could develop into that kind of player for this Wizards team. But it's early to tell. Next year has a draft class that's stacked. If the Wizards do luck out in picking the top 3 in next year's draft, you are going to be feeling good about where this organization is going, especially if you see them make big strides here in this upcoming season.
Cam, Boozer, AJ DeBonza, Darren Peterson, Nate Ahmet, Ben. There is so much freaking talent in this upcoming draft class. I am so excited about it. And on top of that, Ben, they didn't mention the pick swaps, the article that you got from the Bradley Beal trade with Phoenix. I mean, I know we're going to talk about who got last, but I kind of foreshadowed there. But I think right now where the Wizards are, this is perfect. Going back to the Hornets, like, yeah, they've been rebuilding for so long. And again, LaMelo Ball, like his future in Charlotte, does he really want to stay there dealing with ankle injuries? Brandon Miller, really talented, but there's only so much they could do. And their franchise as a whole, I get the Wizards haven't done as, like, they're not like the Golden State Warriors, but Hornets fans, like, you got to stay humble. That's not my last time speaking on that situation. But going back to the Wizards, future is bright. I'll keep reiterating it. I think next year, like, I agree with you, you have to push for the play, and you can't go into year 4 of a rebuild expecting us to be bottom of the barrel again. You hit the nail on the head on that. And I can't wait for Trey Johnson, man. I think he has a real shot at winning Rookie of the Year. I get that Cooper Flag is really talented. BJ Edgecombe has a lot to prove in Philly, but and Ace Bailey, his situation in Utah. But Trey Johnson just looks like a basketball player out there, a guy that can definitely create his own shot, and it's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Well, we have another minute or so here before the break, Abdul. We can just touch on the teams that finished above the Wizards in this list. The San Antonio Spurs check in at number 1 and pretty deservingly so. But why do the Spurs get to be number 1 on this list? Because they've had luck. You need lottery luck. They got Victor Wembanyama, for God's sake. The dude is a literal alien. He's insane. And I know he had the deep vein thrombosis thing this year that set him back a little bit. Hope to see him make a full recovery because he is going to be one of the best players in the NBA. He's one of the more exciting players I've seen on both ends of the floor through early on in his career. And I think he's going to absolutely take over the sport. And then in this last year, after the Spurs already were on the up and up because of getting Wembanyama, they get the number 2 pick, and now they add Dylan Harper to the mix. 8 players under 25. The Spurs are in a good spot, and if they can build around Wembanyama and Dylan Harper, and then they have the former Rookie of the Year in Castle last year, I mean, things look real good.
And De'Aaron Fox.
And De'Aaron Fox added to the mix, of course, in the trade as well. So a lot to go there. Another team with lottery luck At number 2, the Dallas Mavericks. They were in the NBA Finals, for God's sake, a year ago. And they're on a list talking about rebuilds because they traded away its best franchise player. And Luka Doncic, what's the reward? They get Cooper Flag. It's unbelievable. So this list is basically who has been the luckiest in the lottery. Yet the Wizards are still number 5. And you can argue they've had the worst luck out of anybody in the NBA.
No, it's absurd. And I remember I was heartbroken come the draft lottery and my reaction to falling out of the top 4. I was just
what was your raw reaction? I'm curious to know. I didn't know you back then.
I mean, Ben, like the freaking Dallas Mavericks, like it just looks like it was scripted. You trade away your best player. Mavericks fans are, they're lost at sea. And then Adam Silver says, "Hey, here's Cooper Flag." When the Wizards, the Jazz, we had way more, 14%. It's just like you put all that together, and it's just like maybe it wouldn't have made sense for DC to get a guy like Cooper Flag. It's too good to be true, and it is what it is. We get Trey Johnson, but it sucks. Like the whole idea. And I'm not saying the NFL or the NBA should adopt what the NFL does and give the worst team the first overall pick automatically, but it does. It's a little concerning when a team that was not in the finals not too long ago gets the number 1 overall pick. I don't know how that's fair, but I mean, it is what it is.
So my raw reaction, I was watching it at my buddy's house, and when we got to the 6th pick, I kept going out loud. It's going to be us. It's going to be us. It's going to be us. And before he even flipped up the card, he just said, "What?" Like, didn't even finish saying Washington. I screamed. I stood up and I walked out of my friend's house. So heartbroken, so angry. But we're moving on. I'm past it right now. I'm done dwelling on the past because we got better things to talk about here on Locked On Wizards. What's that smell at the bottom of this list? Who is that in dead last? Find out when we come back on Locked On Wizards. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's a game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute ticket deals without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. Nationals back in town this week, and maybe we're going to trade away some of our better players, so better get to the ballpark before those guys get dealt up. But once again, if you want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets, do it with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. ESPN's rankings of teams trying to get on the up and up back to relevancy. Who is that in dead last that I see at number 14? Oh my goodness. It's the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns. The Wizards really ruined them. Will Dawkins ruined that franchise. It's insane to think about. From a couple of years ago, you trade away Bradley Beal and everyone thinks we got fleeced because we didn't get any direct first-round picks, but you have the pick swaps and the mix right there. The Wizards have been able to make so many ancillary moves to get to where they are in this rebuild. And the Phoenix Suns are looked at as a disaster. Now, KD, Booker, and Beal didn't work. They had to trade KD. He goes to Houston. And Phoenix, to its credit, they do get the number 10 overall pick. We're able to get Kaman Malawach. I think that's a good move for him. But a lot of moving pieces part of that. I just think you have a lot you can be confident about now as a Wizards fan because I think this Phoenix team is not going to be good next year. Look at the projected 2025-26 roster for the Suns. Devin Booker, Colin Gillespie, Jordan Goodwin, and Jaren Butler. So they're also taking our old guys that we developed with the Capital City Go-Go and Goodwin and Butler. They now join the mix with the Phoenix Suns. Shooting guard, you got Jalen Green, who I think is a talented young piece, but struggled in the postseason for Houston before they dealt him away. Grayson Allen and Kobe Bray. Dylan Brooks and Royce O'Neal at small forward on the depth chart. Ryan Dunn, Osei Gardo, Rasheer Fleming, who was drafted by the Suns as well later at power forward. Mark Williams, Kaman Malawach, and Nick Richards at the center position. Abdul, where do you see this team finishing? Because it's a stacked Western Conference. I don't have a lot of confidence in them making a lot of noise next year.
Yeah, the backcourt of Jalen Green and Devin Booker is something that does make me scratch my head because you want to develop Jalen Green, but you also just pay Devin Booker a lot of money. I think 71.5 mil. I mean, that's per year. That's a lot of moolah right there. And if you're the Suns, you probably sold Devin Booker that, hey, we're still trying to go out there and contend, but the situation that they're in, and I still think they could have got a lot more for Kevin Durant, but I mean, it is what it is for them. I don't know. Like, is it a possibility where they don't even win 30 games this year? I think so. I think it's a better possibility than them actually going to the playoffs and potentially even trying to make the play-in because the West is so stacked. Look at it. The Thunder, they're only going to get better. The Nuggets got better this offseason. I think the Lakers are better than the Suns. Other teams that I'm missing out on, I'm blanking on. The Clippers, even though they're a retirement home, basically, I still think they're better than the Suns. So Devin Booker and a bunch of guys who have to prove it. Dylan Brooks, a journeyman, likes to talk trash. Maybe he'll hit a three every now and then, play defense. Kyle Malawach is going to take a long way for him to get going. And Kobe Bryant is nice. That's what we saw from the summer against the Wizards. He's going to be really, really solid. Jalen Green, again, I'm not really sold on him. The inefficiency, there's a reason why his time was running out in Houston. So you put all that together, I just don't see a good team in the Western Conference for the Phoenix Suns. And I think the pick swaps that you have, I'm not saying you're going to use it next year because the option is there. But if it's a possibility that the Wizards have a better record than the Suns, I mean, looking back, that's insane to think about.
I feel like the Suns are making a mistake because in a lot of ways, they remind me of what the Wizards were doing for so long when they should have just tore things down and rebuilt. They tried this retool, recalibration thing, and you pick up just a bunch of average players to play in your team. You have a couple of young upside guys there, I guess, but it just doesn't work. It's the over-under projection on FanDuel is 30.5 wins for Phoenix. What are they thinking? They're just going to miss the play-in and be like 13th in the West and get nothing out of it? What are they doing? I don't understand it. I feel like Phoenix has made a huge mistake in the way they've handled everything. And the biggest mistake they made from the start was trading for Bradley Beal. That really set off a fire in this organization. I feel like people's jobs should be on the line in Phoenix right now because of everything that's transpired with the organization. It is a mess over there. The Wizards own the rights to those pick swaps. So if the fire burns and it burns bright in Phoenix, this is a desert, man. It's hot out there. So it might that fire might lead to something for our Washington Wizards. And there's multiple years to come where the Wizards will have opportunities to explore the rights to pick swaps with the Phoenix Suns. And I feel like this is just the start of a tremendous downfall for the Phoenix organization. I feel like a couple of years from now, they're going to find themselves in the Wizards position that they finally got into a couple of years back, where you really, really tear things down and start a full rebuild. I feel like that's what the Suns needed to do after last year. They didn't make that decision. I think it's going to come back to bite it.
It's insane, man. I don't know if you watched the show, but in The Office, Michael Scott, a famous character, said, "It's crazy how the turntables turn." I may be misquoting him, but that's just what it is right now for the Wizards and Suns. And Ben, isn't it crazy to think about that? There's a possibility where the Wizards, again, it's really, really slim, but they might have a better record than the Suns this upcoming year. I mean, to think about that after the Bradley Beal trade, I mean, we warned Phoenix. Bradley Beal it wasn't going to work out. I mean, a lot of people at the time were saying that we got fleeced. Those pick swaps, I think they're really, really going to come in handy. And I've been calling that out for a while, and I can't wait because it reminds me of the Brooklyn Nets and Boston Celtics trade where they did when they got all Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, traded them away and get those draft picks, and they eventually got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, so much young talent. So this is going to be amazing.
I'm looking forward to seeing a crash and burn situation in Phoenix because that's just how it is. Like I'm a hateful fan, I guess. I'm a big hater, and I want this to benefit my team. Anything that benefits my team, if it's the Phoenix Suns stinking up the joint, then yes, come on, I'm all for it. And I really think we're getting to a point right here where we're seeing the downfall of the Phoenix Suns. And I know they finally get the buyout with Bradley Beal, but man, it's too late. It was really too late for all of that. I mean, you got to just bite the bullet at that point if you're Phoenix and cut your losses with the absolute abomination of a super team. You can't even call it that. I'm never going to refer to that as a super team. That is what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the word? A super underachiever. That's what the Phoenix Suns were. A super underachiever team with Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal. What a disaster.
And a couple years from now, Ben, Bradley Beal's going to see how good the Wizards are and say, hey, please let me come back on a cheap deal. I want to break that franchise scoring record.
That we'll see if something like that happens. I teased it yesterday and I wanted to get to it, but we just never did. So I'll pay it off this time finally. Capital One Arena under construction, an $800 million renovation. We haven't seen an update on that in a while, and I'm starting to wonder what's going on over there by Gallery Place. We'll take a look at that next here on Locked On Wizards. So, Abdul, as I teased, it's been a while. It's been since late May since we really got an update, got a look inside Capital One Arena. And upon first glance, I don't really know if the moves they're or if the renovations they're making there, if I really love it right now, because I can see they're adding all kinds of things to the project. They're going to make these big sweet fan experiences a lot better. But it begs to me for like the average fan, are they really going to make the experience at Capital One Arena that much better? Because it seems like there's going to be these options for rich people to go spend a whole bunch of money and sit in these super luxury suites. Like, I hate that they made the Hennessy Loft thing. And I know the team had been bad for a while, so they probably weren't selling a lot of those seats under the basket, but I feel like that was a place where a lot of like true fans that were super dedicated to the team would want to sit. And they put these lofts where most of the people aren't even really watching the game. They're just drinking there at this point. So I'm concerned right now with the renovation that's ongoing. And I bring this up because of how close we are to getting the Washington Commanders back at RFK. It seems like the deal is going to get voted on next week. Hopefully we do not get any interference from the president. I'm keeping my fingers crossed there. That's big if. I'm praying right now that everything can just happen smoothly there. But this Capital One Arena thing, this is a big deal to me because the team almost left the city. It was a done deal. They were going to Potomac Yard.
I keep forgetting about that, Ben. That was a possibility. It was basically almost done, but was it Governor Glunkin said he said no, like that's not happening.
They blocked it because that's what always happens. The then Washington Redskins were actually supposed to move there before FedEx Field. Same thing. It was a done deal. They had an introductory press conference where they were discussing the possibilities and what that would be like, and then it just gets blocked. It never happens. Virginia just doesn't want the stadiums. That's the bottom line. So then, of course, they repivot and get back to D.C., and they get a huge pledge of money from the city, public money, $550 million coming from the city. So that's a big-time commitment because you think about how much the Commanders are footing. They're putting 75% of that bill in a private investment, like $2.6 billion. The Wizards aren't even really putting a big private investment into this update here. And I think as a fan, there's things about the stadium that I would like to see change. I feel like the upper deck is too tight. Like they really need to redo the seating bowl of the upper decks. Every time I sit up there, I feel like it's too tight. Like I don't have enough leg room up there. There's just too much going on. I don't know if that's going to be part of it because we haven't had an update. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Capital One Arena because I didn't think anything was really inherently wrong with it. And I was kind of confused when they wanted to move away initially. I was like, what's the deal? Why are we trying to leave the district here? Like nothing is wrong with Capital One Arena. I think it's a good stadium. I think it's upper tier, honestly, for me.
The way I see it, Ben, I feel like whatever your city, whatever you're under team name, you have to play there. Like a big reason why I want the Commanders to go back to DC, Washington Commanders, Washington Wizards, stay in DC. That's how I like it. And again, for me, I didn't know much about the renovations because I just haven't seen many updates, and the idea of them moving to Virginia, I wouldn't know. Again, for me, I'm always like, I want to see the team win, but maybe if there's renovations and stuff, that'd be cool. I want to see something unique, how the Clippers, how they have that wall. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know, like maybe something to that nature would be nice. Just having something unique, especially since a couple years from now, this Wizards team is hopefully contending. So with the new renovated stadium, with the team actually winning, more fans in the crowd, less away team fans coming in and yelling MVP for the opposing teams, it's going to be exciting. I really can't wait. I haven't been to a game in, I think, 2 years. So I'm hoping, or maybe 3, but I'm hoping that eventually like this will happen. And all that money will be come through. And you mentioned the tight seating. I agree. I remember I forgot where I was sitting. Maybe it was around that area you mentioned. And it is tight. And I'm hoping that Ted Leonsis and the Wizards overall find a way to make it more comfortable for an everyday fan like us.
So I went to one game as a fan last year. I watched all the games on TV, but it was not worth it for me to go to the building and pay money to be there. And I think a lot of you fans would agree that the product on the floor was bad. You knew it was going to be bad. I went to one game, and oh my God, Abdul, I had the worst time ever. Like I really had the worst time. There was a lot of factors to it, but for one, they're playing the Hawks. We were getting cooked down by 30 at the start of the fourth quarter. Trae Young was giving us buckets all night long. Like nobody was playing for us. There was no Bilal, no Keyshawn George in that game. So there just wasn't a whole lot happening, and it was just pretty dull time for me at the arena. But then I was sitting up in the upper deck because it was cheap, and like a teenage guy, like a 20-year-old and some older dude got in a fight right behind me, and they started swinging at each other, punching each other, and then they fell forward like 15 rows. They somersault. They were rolling over. Like I saw a video of it on Twitter, which then got deleted. I got up and I rushed away right before it happened. I would have got crushed. I would have got trampled by these people fighting if I didn't get out of the way.
That's how close you. That's how like they were heading towards your direction.
Right at me, right at my seat. As soon as that happened with my girlfriend, it was the start of the fourth quarter. I was like, "Let's go, we're out of here." Like, I'm
gotta go. That's the sign.
I was like, I'm so out of here, dude. I'm so over it. And I know that's like a very niche experience at a Wizards game, but like, it just kind of scarred me. I was like, "What the heck?" Like,
so
why
did security couldn't stop them? Like, at that
like
point?
no security even came for like forever. It seemed like.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was really one of the more. They almost fell out of the upper deck. I'm not even exaggerating. It was one of the more wild things I've seen at a stadium. And I've been to plenty of Commanders games where drunk fans are fighting.
Yeah.
But this was like honestly so wild. They fell 20 rows. They came from the last row almost to like the third row of the upper deck. I've never seen anything like that. Never in my life.
Do you still have the video? I need to watch that.
No, I didn't record it. I saw it on Twitter at some point, and then I think it got deleted. But it was nuts. Throwing haymakers in. Man, that was last year was a tough year, Abdullah, for Wizards and the fans.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The last game I went to was in 2022. It was the year where DeMar DeRozan was at that stretch of hitting game winners, and he hit that game winner on the corner against and that was right before that. Kyle Kuzma hit a shot that I thought was game, and I think it was New Year's too, around New Year's time, and I was so hyped. And that was the year when the Wizards were like the first seed in the Eastern Conference for a couple of weeks, and gotta figure out a way to put that on the banner. But yeah, it was. My first game was in 2014 with John Wall, Bradley Beal. It was against the Thunder with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. That was the year where I think everyone was talking about the idea of KD coming to DC. I know we hate talking about it, but it was a thing, and that was an insane game, and that's where I fell in love with basketball. But I definitely gotta go to another Wizards game. It's definitely a fun experience. It's tough when the team's down by a lot, but I'm hoping that's gonna change this year.
Yeah, you and I will be there in the press row for the majority of the home games this year, so that'll be exciting to get some cool access, provide you some great coverage here on Locked On Wizards. Another week in the books for us here, and we thank all of our everydayers that have been with us throughout the entirety of the summer. Buckle up. We got some time before the season starts, but Abdullah and I will keep you entertained here. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. For your second, find the Locked On NBA podcast where there is no off season. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That does it for us. That's Abdullah Ayyubi. Check him out on Instagram at the DMV Sports Zone page. I am Ben Strober. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Strober Media or Instagram at Strober Sports. To our audience, have a great weekend, and always remember, go Wizards. We'll talk to you on Monday.